Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Kamigami Battles. This is the deck builder game based off of various mythologies. These are two expansion packs: the Children of Danu, following the Celtics, and the Avatars of Cosmic Fire, which follow the Hindi. So these are very cool. They are both expansion packs. You will be required to own a one of the full sets. So we have like the other expansions. They have Battle of the Nine Realms or River of Souls, which are the full games, and then they have the various expansions which you can add, and then you can mix and match any of the content in a bunch of various ways. So if you're not familiar with deck building games, just a quick overview is all players start with the same basic set of hand, which they use to buy or recruit new characters and new cards, and then their decks will slowly change between what they decide to pick. This one actually uses some really interesting mechanics for it as well, as because you have you can see what cards are all face up at all time, and they slowly rotate in and out, which is a neat aspect. But each player also gets to play as a god who has a health limit you are trying to hopefully protect so you don't get defeated, and then a temple, which gives you extra abilities that can also be destroyed by spending your energy. So each person gets a little bit of asymmetrical abilities plus a shared deck that they all get to kind of work and buy stuff from, so they can go as similar or different from everybody as they choose. Each deck is very cool. There are, I think, 10 different warriors in each deck, if I'm correct. So each one's going to have 80 cards. Well, this one has 80 cards. This one has 110. So they have a little bit of different things. But they each have 45 warrior cards with 5 each. So nine different warrior deck cards. This only has 18 discipline cards. This has 48. And that's because each different... There's 3 levels of the disciples for the game. There's level 1, 2, and 3. Each one has a different amount based on how often you're going to get it. They each have 6 god cards, 1 temple cards, 10 randomizers, and 10 dividers. So very, very cool. They're going to have very different aesthetics. Each one's going to do a different thing. You can check out the other videos where we went over the 2 core boxes, which each had 2 each, plus the other 2 base expansions. So for the core of the game, there's 8 different realms, and then the 9th realm, because this is the Battle of the Nine Realms, is the original title, is kind of the Cthulhu stuff, which is various different old gods. You've even broken down to a couple different factions there, but that's kind of the outside ability. What we're going to get in each one of these is we're going to get our different god cards. We're going to get 1 temple. We have some other fluff pieces here. We are going to get dividers for all of these. We can use upright or sideways. In the box, this is you can separate all your cards really quickly for randomization or creating your decks. We will get the randomizers as well, which all have the same back. This is so if you want to grab your multiple disciplines from multiple sets, you can just mix and match them. You can randomly pick one. Same thing if you want to pick certain warriors that you want to play as, certain elements, you can just randomly select them rather than having to strategically choose. And then we'll have all our various cards. So before we hop into the actual game, I just want to kind of show off a box. So this is the starter deck plus 2 expansions. So with all the dividers. Now I don't have everything separated into dividers. I don't have things sleeved. But I have the 3 core sets of warriors here. So it'd be 4 sets of warriors. 4 different realms or whatever. 2 from the core set, 2 from the expansions. Then I have all the disciples over here, and here's all the randomizer cards. So there's still a decent amount of room to put some more in here. I could probably get rid of all the dividers if I just didn't care for them. I could probably add both of these expansions in here. But there's no way you're going to get this and the next starter deck all in one box all together. There's just going to be too many cards, because if I doubled up another full set of these, there's no way I would fit all of it in here. I guess unless you got rid of the randomizers, then maybe you might be able to. And if you start to sleeve it, obviously you're going to start running out of room. But just kind of wanted to show that's what we kind of have there. Alright, we're going to jump in. We're going to look at the Children of Danu first, which are the Celtic the Celtic theme. So the gods are all gonna show their little Celtic symbol and have roses on the bottom. And I'm gonna try not to butcher these names as best as possible. But we have Le Lafada, the Long Arm. So the Long Arm's ability is Act. Pay 1 energy, copying Act ability from any other god in play. You must use any cost required to use this ability. Ooh, so that's kind of neat. So you have to banish something, or you have to pay an additional cost to do it. But the fact that you can steal any other ability. This works very well if you're playing multiplayer, so 4-player or a team 3 versus 3, you get even, or up to 6 players, have a lot more options. You're playing 1v1, this is probably the weakest ability, because you might just want something else that does something versus stealing your opponent's, although, might not be bad either. And then we have Fragarash. React, when your god or temple is damaged by another player, immediately play 1 red warrior from your hand to resolve as an act attack against that warrior against a player who attacked you. Interesting. When you're attacking, immediately play 1 warrior from your hand against an attack on the warrior against... resolve the attack on the warrior against the player who just attacked you. Okay, cool. So you have to play a red card. I think all red cards have an attack, but there might not be. But yeah, so it's kind of cool. So if you get attacked, you can go ahead and just straight up throw a damage back at them. We have the Gagaga, the father of all. Longmore, when you damage a god or temple, take a number of cards from that player's draw deck equal to the energy lost and place them in their discard pile. Nice, so you're not only damaging them, you're also just destroying their deck at the time. Cauldron of Plenty, discard 1 white or gray moon warrior from your hand. Your god gains 1 energy. Cool, so basically you can regain health by sacrificing that color. Cyranos, the Horned God, Master of the Hunt, Act, pay 1 energy, name a warrior card, reveal the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. If the named card is one of those cards, reincarnate it, which means put it back in the pile it came from. So if it was a warrior card, it goes back to the Hall of Warriors deck. If it's a disciple, it goes back to the respective disciples deck. Place the remaining cards back and then reshuffle the deck. So if you kind of are paying attention to what your opponent's placing or putting on top of their deck, you could definitely get rid of some of their good cards. It's pretty fun. Mean, but fun. Lord of the Animals, Act, reincarnate a green warrior, gain faith equal to the reincarnated cost. So sacrifice it to gain points to spend on something else. Interesting. So these guys have a lot of stuff where they're kind of manipulating the field a bit. Like, you can, sacrifice one thing to gain something else. Like, we had that. When you damage, you get to do this. Stealing someone's ability. So we're kind of getting an interesting theme there. We have Morrigan, the Battle Raven. Portents of Death, Rack. When you declare an attack, perform an agitation. If you reveal a red warrior, add 2 attack. So agitation is maybe the top card of your deck, and then see what it does. So here we're looking for a warrior card. Get 2 extra attack. The Herald of War, Rack. When the opponent declares an attack for the target, pay energy equal to the attack value. Choose a different target for the attack, and they choose the attacking player as a target. Oh, that's cool. So you can force them to re-attack themselves or attack another player. Very cool. Again, kind of manipulating what's going on. The Magnicler, the God of Sea. Wave Sweeper. Play a card. When a player defends against an attack, pay 1 energy to cancel the defense ability. So instead of boosting your attack, you're stopping their defense. And Cloak of Mist, pay 1 to declare your god or your temple. Till the beginning of your next turn, your cards declared cannot be attacked by an opponent. Nice, full on shield. So nice defensive character. Like to play defense, he's a great guy for you. And then our last one is Dian Check the Healer. Healing Waves, Rack, discard 1 Water Warrior from your hand. Prevent 1 warrior or disciple from being banished. Interesting. And I wonder if you could chain this with your own effects. Like, I could play a card that says, banish a warrior, red warrior, to do this effect. And I banish that red warrior. Instead, I could discard a blue one instead to prevent that warrior from being banished. It wouldn't make a lot of sense if you said just banish any card from your hand. Why would you banish? But even still, if it says banish a warrior, any warrior from your hand, to perform this effect. And then this one says just discard one warrior. So I lose an additional card, but I don't have to banish that guy instead. So it could be pretty cool. Rather than using it in reaction to your opponent banishing your stuff. Hazel Rod, take one water warrior from your discard pile, add it to your hand. And then there you could get your water warrior back on your next turn if you chose to. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, those are really neat effects. Alright, then we have one location. We have the Temple of Imanmaka. React when your opponent plays a defense ability against your attack, gain 1 energy on this temple. You may act this ability once per turn. Act 1, pay 1 from this temple. You may purchase a warrior from the Netherworlds as if they're in the Hall of Heroes. Reduce that warrior's cost by 1. Netherworlds is the banished area. So you get banished to go to the Netherworld. So you can basically let guys be banished, and then you can buy them back for cheaper. And then every time someone attacks you, or opponent plays a defense against your attack, you gain energy. It's a little bit harder to get energy back on this card, but that's what's also great about this game. There's enough other characters and cards in some of the other sets that might work really well with doing that. There are some that are just going to straight up be like, every turn, putting energy back on your temple if you drew a card. So there might be some really cool ones like that. Alright, let's look at our disciples. I do wish, and I've said this in previous videos for the other expansions, I do wish they had 3 different locations to kind of match the core sets, which each had 3. But I get it, because there's probably a little less cards in there. So we already have Druid, a Disciple 2. So this can replace the Disciple 2 from the core set. So if you want to just swap it out a little bit, have something different. Still has the +2 for Faith, which most of the Disciple 2s have. Then Act, perform agitation. If the card revealed is a Disciple, banish that card and gain 2 Faith. If it is a warrior, banish it and gain 2 energy on your temple. Very interesting. So it's all about banishing your stuff to either gain your energy back or gain 2 energy on your temple. Which works well with that one last guy. And then you can discard a water card to deny the banishment, right? But if you do that, I don't think you would gain that thing, because I think it said you cancel the banish. I want to see if it says that. Yeah, it says prevent them. So if you did that, it would cancel this effect, because the effect would have to be banished for it to happen. But still, it's an interesting, different card to play. Alright, then the rest of the warriors, we have 4 copies of each, so I'm not going to have to keep mentioning that. We have Feeling McCollum. Warrior says attack for 3, spend 1 energy from a temple to gain 2 attack. That is very powerful for a 4-cost ability. But again, if your temple ever reaches 0 energy, because you're spending abilities or people attack it, then it's destroyed and you can't ever revive it back up. So yeah, it's you don't want to use this too often unless you have a way of replenishing that energy. We have the Celtic. Act, draw 1 card. If you have damaged a god this turn, draw an additional card. Very cool. Puka. Reveal. The current warrior performs agitation. If the warrior is revealed, gain 1 energy on your god or temple. If a disciple is revealed, you must remove 1 energy from your god or your temple. This cannot reduce it to 0. Act, changing color of this card to your choice. Cool. So when it's revealed, means when it comes out into the Hall of Heroes, it's immediately, you have to possibly do this bad effect. Bad or good, depending on what you have available. And then once you get it in your hand, you can use it to help chain stuff together. Although since it doesn't do anything else other than that, it's like once you buy it, Change the colors of this card to the colors of your choice. So yeah, you can change whatever it changed to. So it's only going to be helpful if you have something else that says, if you change multiple cards, you can do this thing. Something like if this is the second change card, you get this a bonus. Otherwise, this card doesn't really do a lot. So this might be a card I could see people taking out. Also, again, you might also take some out just because you don't want the reveal effects. Alright, then we have, up next, we have Banin Sahid, an apparition. Reveal. All players perform agitation banning any warriors that are revealed this way. Act. Choose one player to discard one disciple from their hand if they have 4 or more cards in their hand. If they have no disciples, they must reveal their hand. Cool. Then we have Kukulhin. Attack 3. React. Defense 1. If no damage is done to a god or temple when he defends, return him to your hand. So if they go a weak attack, he can help defend, and then you get him back into your hands. It's kind of a neat little combination. We have Medb. Hopefully I said that somewhere near right. Reduce the cost of all red warriors. You recruit this turn by 1 faith. Act. You may play a red warrior from your discard pile for the rest of this turn, if they can legally be played in the current chain. So cool. So this actually works kind of well, could work potentially well with that other card we had earlier, right? Where we said, with this one, you can chain your colors together. Chain them to a color of your choice. Obviously, you can make it, it's already red, so it wouldn't make that big of a difference. But that might be in effect something like that, if other cards that are similar, because you can then link them together later on. Neat. Then we have Furblog, the warrior. Obviously a warrior, but he looks like a warrior. Banish 2 disciples from your discard pile. Choose 1 warrior from the Hall of Heroes with a cost equal to combined cost of disciples banished this way, and add it to your discard pile. Banish to choose 1 warrior from the Hall of Heroes with a cost equal to the combined cost of the disciples. So the higher ones you get rid of, you can add a bigger card. If it goes to your discard pile. Rack. If a warrior is being banished, reincarnate it instead. So just keeping it out of the reincarnated zone or the banished netherworld. Someone else can't use another card to steal it, potentially. Yeah, very interesting. Then we have Forming. Attack 2. If the previous card in the chain has a higher cost than Forming, he gains an additional 2 attack. And then the last one is the Leprechaun. Reveal. The current player gains 2 faith, and then Act, he gains 2 faith. This is kind of a neat one too. So some of these, and that's, again, this is what's really fun about this, is some of these cards might not seem as well in this set, but if you start combining all the other different sets and expansions, you can see some really cool and interesting potential. Again, because randomize them, and then maybe you have some cards that are almost useless compared to, because they don't have the correct things to trigger. Maybe a guy that really needs to work with the netherworld, but you have nothing else that helps banish. Because sometimes creating a specific thing might be useful. You can always just play with this one culture at a time and then swap out to another culture. So lots of really interesting things you can do. Yeah, just to make everything cool. With, again, keeping the color scheme. So it does say if you are combining colors or something up, it says choose 6 red warriors and 3 of each of the other ones. You want to make sure you have enough cards that can attack. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to take just the yellow cards, right? And then you have nothing to chain with. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff in there. This set kind of seems, the Danu seems to be very much about, like, just manipulating the field. In comparison with some of the other sets that, in cultures that were more attack-oriented, some that worked on banishing stuff, some that worked on more reincarnating. This kind of does a little bit everywhere, but it's all about, like, manipulating the entire board around a little bit. Putting a card here, moving this one there. It's very, very interesting. Alright, let's hop into our other set, which is the Avatars of Cosmic Fire, which are the Hindus. So again, like I said before, let's hope I don't butcher all these names too much. But of course, we have the very ever-present, everyone knows, Vinishu. Vinishu? Why am I already saying that wrong? The Preserver. We have Padma. Act, discard a white warrior to choose one god or temple to gain 1 energy. As like it says when the cards say stuff like choose a god or temple, so if you're playing team play, you can potentially help out your opponents or your teammates. Now you'll probably want to help your opponents. What's this one? Sadara Shana Chakra. When you are going to draw 1 or more cards, draw 1 additional card. Put 1 of those cards you drew on the top or bottom of the deck that you drew and keep the rest. Okay, so cool. So you draw 2. Every time you draw a card, you draw 2. And at least draw 1 extra card. But then you get to take 1 of those cards and put them back on the top or the bottom of your deck. And then keep the rest. So it's kind of cool. You get 1 extra card, but you can decide what you want to do with it. We have Ganesh, remover of obstacles. Very interesting way to go. Like the elephant armor. Looks pretty cool. Gold, pay 1 energy to change the target of the attack to god or temple of your choice. You may choose the attacking player's god or temple if you wish. Oh, that's pretty neat. Then removal of obstacles, pay 1. Opponents may not use warriors or disciples with the defense ability for the rest of your turn. We have Shiva, the Destroyer. Preserver, pay 1 to prevent a warrior or disciple from being banished or reincarnated. Ooh, neat. So again, this could be helpful if it's your stuff. You play a card that would banish 1 of your cards or reincarnate them. Although remember that if the ability requires you to do that to get the effect, you are also denying the effect as well. Like it says banish this card to do this. If you don't banish him, you don't get that effect. Although on the other hand, think if it said banish target warrior, period, end. Then do this thing after you've done that. You've paid the cost to banish them, you can still prevent them, as long as it's not all in 1 sentence. At least that's how I would interpret it. Destroyer of Worlds, pay 1 from your temple, remove 1 from an opponent's temple. Your opponent can prevent this loss by discarding a disciple from their hand. So at least the upside about this is, right, if they want to keep stopping you from every turn paying a health or paying 1 of your temples to remove 1 of their off of theirs, trying to destroy their temples, they lose their disciples, which means they can't buy as many cards. It's a little hindering that way. We have the Brahma, the Creator. Recreate the Earth. Pay 1, reincarnate all warriors from the Hall of Heroes, then refill the Hall of Heroes. So just shuffle them back in and redraw them all. Very interesting. Also be kind of neat with this is because if your Hall of Heroes, you draw the same card, it stacks on the top of the same deck. So there could be some piles that might have 2, maybe 3 cards of the same thing, and this could just get rid of all of them. Master of Vegas. Well, the top 4 cards of any face-down deck, pick 1 of those cards and put it at the bottom of the deck. Put the other cards back on the top of the deck. Interesting. And putting the other back on the top of the deck. So the top 4 cards of any face down deck. So basically generally somebody else's deck. But you could also look at the Hall of Heroes deck and mess with that. And if there's ever expansions that have an extra deck off to the side for some reason, you can look at that as well. Cool. Lakshmi. It's a signs of auspicious fortune. Discard any number of warriors from your hand to gain faith equal to their total cost. Ooh, that's actually kind of cool. Sacrificing your cards to buy for 1 big buy. Compassion. Pay 1 energy. Any warriors or disciples that have damaged Lakshmi this turn are reincarnated at the end of their turn. Nice. So I assume, though, you have to play this. It says they have that damaged them, so you could play this at any time. And it's whether they have damaged or will damage them later. So you can, if someone hits you, you can go, I'm going to get rid of all your guys. Cool. Our last god is Kali, the Destroyer of Evil. Mother Goddess, reincarnated card that is being banished. This ability may be once per turn. Nice. So if you're going to have an effect that would banish a card, it's still considered to be banished, you're just reincarnating instead. So it's not like preventing it from being done. Slayer of Demons, pay 1 to banish 1 warrior from any player's discard pile. Neat. And I think you can use both of these. I think you could pay 1 to banish a warrior, and then you could reincarnate it instead. But I don't know why you would do that, because if you're banishing somebody else's card, why would you up? I guess the only reason I can see going if they have like a really good warrior that you want, you could banish it and put it back into the deck, and then you might have a chance of getting it again. But that's a very long-winded way to get a card. For our temple, we have the Temple of Manashiki Amanin. React whenever a warrior is banished, gain 1 energy on this temple. You may activate this ability only once per turn. Pay 1 from this temple, reincarnate 1 warrior or disciple from your hand. Your gods gain 1. So kind of neat. So these guys are doing a lot of banishing and reincarnating stuff. So very, very interesting. Alright, then we have our dividers. So we got all of those. And I love that every divider set also comes in a different color. So that way you can easily just look at your box and be like, you know, oh, pink is that one, green is that one. So you could mix and match them if you want to put them by like cost or by warrior color. So if you want to sort them out, like I want all the 2s and 3s and 4s, you could do that. Still be able to tell the sets apart, or you could separate them by different, symbols. Like I'm gonna have all the water ones together, all these. That way, if you're trying to create your deck, you're like, oh, I gotta grab 3 water. You can look through all the water together, but you can have all the sets separated out, which is still it's a neat way to separate both of them. So yeah, we have all our randomizers. Alright, then we have our disciples. We have a lot of Disciple 1. I think it said we have 48 of them? Yep. Because Disciple 1s you want to have the most of because they're the cheapest and they're the ones that you're going to buy the most. So we'll look through that one first. And we have Archika. So he has gain 1 faith, which most Disciple 2s do. These are the ones that are in your starting hand. Gain 1 energy to another player's temple, then gain 2 faith. So help somebody else's temple out, but you gain extra 2 by every turn. You do it. So that's not a terrible effect. For the rest of the warriors, we have 5 copies of each card, so I won't keep saying that again. We have Rama. Attack for 3. Rama gains +1 attack if the target's player's god has the death or war spheres. So interesting. So we haven't seen this come up, at least not in any of these sets. But what it's looking for are these ones here. So if it has death or war, which is the red one, like Shiva has both actually. So that's kind of a neat a way to play on that mechanic as well. Choose an opponent's god to lose 1 energy. There's 1 additional energy if they have the death sphere. So this is one of the characters that could be really powerful if your opponent's playing that. Could be very useless. Not usually, he still has an attack of 3, which isn't bad. And it still does 1 energy, but it becomes less effective if they don't have one. It's a very neat way to play that. Plus, you could also, if you're playing a multiplayer game, now you have 4 or 5 players to target against, which could make it more better. You have multiple guys that could hit. Ichihara Nag. Acting 1 energy on your god. If you have not yet attacked an opponent this turn, gain 2 energy instead. So basically playing it earlier helps. Marut. A defensive 4. We haven't seen too many defensive 4s, which is always nice to see more of. Choose 1 player to discard 1 random card from their hand if they have 4 or more cards in hand. If they discard a disciple, gain 1 on your temple. The Naga. Draw 1 card. If you have damage to god this turn, your god gains 2 energy. So a lot of stuff in here with putting energy on your temple or putting energy on your god or moving that stuff around. So you have a little bit more of that versus some of the other sets. We have Ganga Brunida. She has 2 heads. Play a warrior to cost a 5 or higher and then add it to the current chain, even if it is not legal to be played using one of its act abilities. draw a card. That is actually freaking crazy for a 3 cost. But you have to have a 5 or higher. So early in the game, you might not even be able to play this for a while. You might just even be drawing a card for the first couple of turns. So that's pretty cool. And then we have, and actually even out of this set, like you're just playing with this set, we only have 1 card that's a cost of 5 or higher, is Marut. So like using this, even if we look at the rest of we have all 2s and 3s. So if you just added this set into there, there's only 1 card that you can work with. So if you're not adding other characters from other sets, again, it's not that this card's bad, but it's kind of cool. It gives you, they kind of had some of these that you're like, this does a little bit of effect. But if you play this with other sets or mix and match and create different scenarios, this can be a much more effective card. The Varnius. The top 3 cards in an opponent's draw deck. Choose one of them to place in the player's discard pile. Put the other 2 cards back on the top of their deck in any order. You have lots of deck manipulation here. Kim Parashua, who has attack 1. If Kim Parashua damages a guy or templates, attack, search your deck for a green warrior placed on top of the deck. I also love these. We have more effects that if you have this or do this with that color, that's kind of a fun mechanic. Rakasha, banish 1 card from your hand with a cost of 3 or more. Remove 1 energy from any god. Act. Take top card of an opponent's draw deck, place it in your discard pile. Take the top card of your deck, place it on that opponent's discard pile. Interesting. So kind of like trading your cards around. I really like their discard. I'm willing to sacrifice one of my own. Plus, you could also do the thing where if you buy a card, it goes on top of your deck first. So you could buy something, put a card that's maybe not as useful, put it back on top, buy a 2-cost card, throw it on top of your deck, and then give them that. And then lastly, we have Sangvana Matcha. Draw 1 card, then banish 1 warrior in the Hall of Heroes. Choose 1 player to discard 1 random card from their hand if they have 5 or more cards in their hand. Cool. And I've said this in one of the other videos too, lots of effects if they have 5 or more. You always have 5 cards in your hand at the end of their turn. So, lots of these effects, then they'll hit them no matter what, generally. But if they've played a react card, or you've already played something to force them to discard something, you're not going to get multiple effects. So let's say if I had 3 of these in my hand, and I had some way to keep chaining to get all 3 of them out, I wouldn't get to keep making them discard 3 random cards and then give them no cards for the turn. After the first time, they don't get to do it anymore. So sometimes just straight up discard cards are really powerful, but they have some here that have 5. We had a couple that were 4 or less, so you might be able to hit them with 2 effects. So I think this guy's playing a little bit of defense as well with some of these cards. But that is what we have for this set. So very cool. So that is the other 2 expansions. We have Children of Dawn and Avatars of Cosmic Fire. You can also check out the other boxes, which were the other 2 small expansions that came with this, which were, or around this time, which were the, why can't I remember what they were called? Warriors of Dawn and Court of the Empires, Chinese and Japanese, as well as you can get the Rivers of Soul big box set, which was Babylon and Ancient Egyptians, or the Babylonian Realm, which is the original core box, which was, I believe, Greek and Viking, Norse and that. So yeah, and that's, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different themes. I know it says 6 pantheons, there's more to come. There's actually 8 pantheons total, because there's 2 in each box. Big box, but yes, we did a lot of different stuff to do in there. And again, the Cthulhu set came out as well, which has a big box and 2 small expansions. You can mix and match in there as well. And there's also a bunch of promo cards. That's what we have for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys later. Bye.